Hey, hello, leaders. This is Paul Grau Jr., and welcome to Run to Your Leadership Challenges. So, today I want to talk about being in a waiting room. And I want to take the approach from being in a waiting room from a leadership standpoint. Because a lot of times in our leadership careers, we just feel like we're playing a waiting game. I know we had a saying in the Air Force. It was "hurry up and wait." Right? You would seem to be in a hurry, a great big hurry to get something done, get somewhere, and then all of a sudden you were waiting. You were in a holding pattern. Well, it's kind of like that, but I just wanted to uh, just talk about a couple of topics here, or a couple of things about being in a waiting room. And I bring this up because I'm reading this book called What to Do Next: Taking Your Best Step When Life is Uncertain. And this is by Jeff Henderson. And it's a really good book. I've read Jeff's other book. It's called Know What You're For. And that's an excellent book. I highly recommend both of these books. But I don't want to give away too much in the book, but I do want to just explain this idea of being in a waiting room, because a lot of times as a leader, we just don't know what's next. And a lot of times we just don't know what we want to be next sometimes. So we just are going to work and we're going through the motions, and there's not a lot happening and there's not a lot of progression taking place, and it just seems like we're just in this waiting room. Um, I remember a long time ago there was a Dunkin' Donuts commercial that said it showed this guy getting up at dark 30 in the morning and time to make the donuts. And he just, it was like he was going through the motions every day. And sometimes leadership gets like that. It's just we get up, we go to work, we make decisions, we mentor people, and we don't know what's in the future for our career. So Jeff talks about three options that you can really do while you're in a waiting room. And while you're in this leadership waiting room, you can wait passively, which is just basically do nothing at all and just accept the fact that you're in this waiting area. You could wait recklessly, which is just do something that's not thought out, that you gave no thought, but it just seems like something to do, so you just do it because you can't handle the waiting room. You have to be doing something. But recklessly is not doing something that is well thought out, well planned out. It's just doing something. And then finally, he says you can wait actively. And this is what I really want to talk about, because waiting actively means that you can learn while you're in this waiting room. You could pray. You could take in all the experience and the lessons and gain wisdom every day that you're going to work, or while you're in this waiting room, while you're leading. And I love this because, both I know from time to time, this waiting room in my Air Force career and throughout my post Air Force career, I've been in waiting rooms a lot. And I know at times I have waited passively. I've just done nothing, accepted it, and be like, okay, I'm just going to do the routine. I'm just going to keep going. But I wasn't really doing anything to make that time really beneficial to me and the people around me. I've waited recklessly, where I've just went to work and just started doing stuff that wasn't thought out and kind of got me in trouble sometimes. And I've waited actively. I've learned. I've shadowed people. I've tried to take in everything that's going on in my surroundings and learn from them. I've learned to gain wisdom. I've just looked at other people that I admire, and I try to follow their lead. I think when you're waiting actively, you're taking it all in, and you're learning from it, and you're kind of deciding from all the things that you're experiencing and doing, that is building what you want for your future. And Jeff also goes on to talk about there's 4 steps that you can take while you're in this waiting room. He said, first of all, you can build a network. And, as a leader, man, this I love because it means getting involved and getting to know as many leaders around you as possible. And that could be leaders that are senior to you, leaders that junior to you, leaders that are on the same level as you. Reach out, network with every leader possible and then talk about different things that are going on. You don't have to get very detailed with names and stuff, but share some of your experiences because there's going to come a time where you are in a situation that you've never been through before. But the more network or the larger your network is, and the more that you talk about different experiences with other leaders, the better off that you can be preparing yourself for what is possible next. Another step that Jeff says is to create optimal options. Now, I love this one too, because I think leaders, while you're in the waiting room, you should be trying to learn what's next. Learn what the next promotion is going to bring. Try to figure out that responsibility and then try to set yourself up for taking on and leading with that responsibility. And, this is always neat because it's a time where you can really just sit back and learn from other people, but it's also a time where you could take formal classes and courses. I would recommend, seeing what kind of online classes are available to take, but just continuously grow your leadership because there's going to come a time where they may look to be promoting somebody that's on your level, and they're going to look for stuff like that. What makes you stand out where you should be promoted if you want that? But always learn because something in one of those courses may spark a totally different direction that you want to take with your leadership. And then a third step is find your muse. And the best way of this is find your inspiration. Even though you don't know, or even though you may not know what's next for you in life, who around you inspires you? Who around you inspires you enough to say, man, I want to be like that someday? And it doesn't matter if you're 20 years old, 30 years old, 60 years old, 80 years old. Who do you want to be like? Who inspires you to be a better person? Who inspires you to smile and serve others? Well, this is where this find your muse comes in. And Jeff makes a really good point, and I don't know, I'm not quoting it verbatim here, but paraphrasing it, he basically says, it's easy to get inspired for a moment, but you got to learn to keep that motivation. What is going to happen for you to be able to keep that motivation for a long term? And that's what a muse will do for you. That they will give you that inspiration. And then finally, the fourth step that Jeff says he recommends you taking in this waiting room is to develop some kind of personal advisory board that is going to help you. Now, the closest thing that I have to this is masterminds. I'm in a couple of different masterminds, and I pay for some and some I don't pay for. But the closest thing to my personal advisory board would have to be these groups. And the one, I meet with 4 other guys every Thursday morning at 6 a.m. We get on a Zoom call, and we've been meeting for probably, man, I would say 4 years at least. And it is very rare for any of us to miss a call. We are always on there. Now, the purpose of the call started out to be like a men's Bible study. We wanted to, study the Word, dive into the Word. But then over the years, it's kind of morphed into this Bible study mastermind, if you will. We still go through some scripture, but the most important thing is if somebody's going through some troubled times, or some challenges, we really pour into that person. So we get on there, we share, we give everybody an update of what's going on if we want to. And then, if somebody is going through rough times or needs advice, we're there for them. And we don't pull any punches, or we don't hold back. We really just question them. One guy in the group's called the Bulldog, John, and because he really pushes us, he will push us to the brink, and we love it because he challenges us. He allows us to think, and he's the oldest slash wisest in the group. And Jeff says that you should kind of search for people older than you, but he said mainly come up with a list of what the criteria would be if you put this personal advisory board together. What kind of people would you like to be on that? Who would you like to be on that? And he said, once you figure out who you might want to be on that board, track them down. And he said he meets with his board, his personal advisory board, every 6 weeks, and he buys them either breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and they meet for an hour, and he comes prepared with some questions. He comes prepared to basically tell them what's going on in his life, what he's thinking about, what he's working on, and it's pretty much just like a mastermind. And the beauty of this is you get 4 different perspectives every time you meet. And that's where the criteria for picking these people on your personal advisory board is very important, because you don't want somebody to be on this advisory board that's just going to fill you full of smoke, right? Blow smoke up your butt and just sugarcoat everything. You want somebody to be that bulldog. You want somebody that's going to challenge you, play the devil's advocate, and really get you thinking to make the best decisions. And you could do this primarily for work, and you could do it for outside of work too. And tomorrow we're going to talk more about this waiting room, but it's going to be more towards your life waiting room. All right. Not career focused per se, but just in life. What do you do while you're in the waiting room of life? And a lot of us may be there. So tune in tomorrow for that. I'm going to end right there. But again, this book is called What to Do Next: Taking Your Best Step When Life is Uncertain by Jeff Henderson. And it's a great book. I'd highly recommend it. And tomorrow, come on back, because we'll talk more about being in the waiting room of life circumstances. So I hope to see you then. And until then, run to your challenges.